Welcome back to the Paper and Glam Pep Talk podcast. I'm Lisamarie, and I am an entrepreneur who started a company called Paper and Glam, where we do all things planning and seasonal living. And I am about to enter a new era in my life, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what tends to happen when we enter new eras in our lives or when we're about to enter a new era. Because I know for me, I've seen these patterns, and I think that they really manifest themselves in all of our lives when we're just on the edge of something really great. So for me, I've been in LA for 5 years. My plan was always to move back to my hometown of Napa, but it really hasn't worked out just for various reasons. The time just wasn't right. And I'm actually moving a week from the recording of this. And I am just encountering like all of this resistance. So, the plan is in motion, but prior to this, I was just experiencing a lot of just kind of like ambiguity in my life and just feeling a little bit like that, like lost feeling without direction. And that is always my first clue that change is in the air. So if you're experiencing that, you may be on the precipice of a change. And then the next thing that I notice when I'm about to walk into a new era is some resistance. So resistance comes in so many different forms, whether that's kind of feeling just like spiritually heavy, whether that's like unexpected circumstances, whether that's like bills or health issues or, just anything that comes out of the blue, maybe like transitions with work, like car trouble, just all of those like what the Bible would call momentary struggles that are just part of the human experience. Whenever I'm about to walk into a new season like I am right now, I always experience just like a flurry of those all in a row. And it can be really defeating, except for the fact that that's almost always a sign that we're getting very close to what we want. And it's just this like almost spiritual like test that we need to overcome. And, we just talked about this a little bit on the God and Glam live stream that we do every morning on YouTube. And there's a verse in the Bible that says like these powers that we're fighting are not like flesh and blood. Like it's not about people. It's about the fight between good and evil. And whether you subscribe to that kind of spiritual warfare way of looking at it, or if you subscribe to more of like the Stephen Pressfield, the war of art type of outlook, which is all about like the resistance we encounter when we're creating anything, whether that's like a life or art or a relationship or a new version of our lives or a new version of ourselves, we always will encounter that resistance. So my encouragement for you today is that if you feel that resistance, please don't turn back. Please just take things one day, 1 hour, one bill at a time, because you're probably really close to your future, to the future you, and you're probably just on that precipice of getting ready to walk into the future that you've been waiting for. So just trust that it's going to work out, which is really easy to say and really hard to feel in the moment. And I have an action step for you too, besides just like get through it. Because I always want these podcasts and pep talks to be really actionable. Otherwise, it's just like, great, we get a quick shot of inspiration or motivation, but not something actionable to take into the day. So for me, whenever I'm kind of experiencing that darkness or that heaviness, the resistance, I always plant a seed of blessing. So for me, that seed of blessing was starting this podcast. I have been thinking about it for a long, long time, for years. And I was just up at 2 a.m, like with my mind racing, trying to figure out how to, get past these kind of things that are all coming up at once to, get home to Napa. And I just was thinking, okay, what seed can I bury in this moment of darkness that's going to reap a harvest, right? Because what are seeds, right? We bury them in darkness and they create this life in like the spring, right? We bury them in winter in the dark when, it doesn't seem like anything's happening, but below the surface, these seeds are growing and they're going to reap this bountiful harvest. We're all about seasonal living in the Paper and Glam community because it's just this beautiful allegory for life. And when you're going through a hard thing, think to yourself, what seed can I plant here? How can I use this darkness, right? You're already in pain, might as well get a reward from it. Like, let me put something down right here to look back at this moment, because I guarantee you, in a month from now, maybe a year from now, maybe 10 years from now, you'll look back at that moment when you planted that seed in that darkness and grew something beautiful, grew something that comes into the light in your life and creates something for you to take into the next season. Because these momentary troubles, these momentary resistance we encounter, like we're not even probably going to remember in like probably a month, let alone like a week, maybe even, because things have a way of working themselves out. But we will remember those seeds that we buried in those moments of darkness. So I don't know what your seed is. Maybe it's just putting in a little bit more good into the world than it feels like is coming to you. But just bury something for yourself, because when you're going through a moment of darkness, it's a prime time for growing. That means it's planting season. It's planting season, right? There's harvest and there's planting season. And darkness is that prime time to just leave ourselves a token of that moment, and also just a beautiful reminder when we see that seed grow of God's incredible faithfulness. And the next time we encounter resistance, when we're in a growth spurt, we'll look back on that seed, we'll look back on those moments, and we'll be stronger for it. So I hope this was inspirational. I hope this is a good reminder for the next time you are encountering resistance. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. And if you want more Paper and Glam pep talks, we do this live every morning on the God and Glam channel on YouTube, shop.paper and glam for lots of fun stuff. If you're curious what else we're all about, if you want to know more about this seasonal living thing. So until next time, thank you so much for listening.